Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen to Sonoma Raceway for tonight's SRI Season 1 Touring Car Masters at Sonoma Round 2 of the SRI Season 1 Touring Car Masters Championship. Welcome, I am your host Carlin Hicks. These guys are in the middle of the 20-minute qualifying session. I'm going to take a quick chance here to do some audio fixing here. Try to get the mic working a little better. Just hang tight for 1 second, viewers, with me as we welcome you back here to SRI competition. Give a little more volume to the headphones here for the broadcast and get back on the track. As I said, welcome everybody here. Send out our link here for you. Pardon me for the moment as I get our stuff set up, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, here we go. We should be just about set to go. Pardon me for the moment as I get our... Alright, and there we go. Oh, you're looking at Alu82. He was your inaugural winner last week at Daytona Speed Week in the Daytona Touring Masters, picking up the first win in SRI Touring Car Masters history. We've had a hell of a weekend here at Sonoma. The Indy cars, everybody but the V8 Supercars Championship running here. They were over in Italy at Imola. But right now in the early going, McToasty and suddenly my controller's not working. Alright, having a little technical issues here. Trying to work them out. Hang with me. There we go. Alright. McToasty leading the way. McToasty was a winner this week at the Sonoma Indy 200 on Friday night. Had a terrific run in that race to pick up his first IndyCar win. Got a ton of Renaults here. I don't know if we have any BMWs here in the smaller field. CMC, good to see him out in competitions. Oh, come on. I'm having a little difficulty with the controllers here, folks, so bear with me. Spank Meyer. I'll bet you we have a whole field of Renaults. I'm just double checking here to make sure. Yeah, it looks like Renault Megans across the board, except for CMC, the American, one of the two American drivers. He comes in the BMW. But Alu, your winner last week at Daytona, comes in with the points lead with the early win. Only round 2 of 10 here, of course. But we've had a terrific weekend. As I said, let me see if I can get my results sheet up. Some of our there we go. Give you a little rundown of this weekend's races last night. So McToasty there has done very well here this weekend. Won the IndyCar race, finished second in the Sports Car Championship in the GTEs last night, so he has been hot, at least on the short circuit here at Sonoma. But here the Touring Car Masters as well, the sports cars were also on the Grand Prix circuit here. But McToasty looking to make it 3 podiums for the weekend, and I'm sure he's hoping a second win for the weekend of competition. I don't have my results. Do I have my results from the V8s? Yes, I do. I have my results from the V8 Supercars. It was Taijo picking up his first V8 Supercars win earlier today on the SRI Pacific Tour. I'll give you some rundowns of those when we have downtime here in the races. As I'm checking out my notes, we'll run down the rest of the Touring Car Masters Series as they are winding out a 20-minute qualifying session. It will be a 45-minute feature race. We're going to have 6 starters in the field, still building up the field here in the SRI Touring Car Masters. But if you're looking to get involved, check us out. Go to discord.com, search for Sim Racing International. You'll find us, and we will find you at the track. 1:36.0 currently the top time. Spank Meyer, another UK driver, veteran of these cars. This is a guy we fully expect. I don't believe he raced last week in the series. Let me take a second look here at the Touring Car Masters standings. Spank Meyer, yeah, he was actually. Came in 4th place last week, so he's definitely in points contention. Veteran driver who we really expect to do something special with the touring cars. We expect him, Alu82, McToasty, all these guys are going to be championship contenders even as more drivers come onto the field. And you're going to see these things race close, race hard. The Renault Megans dominating the field. We've seen BMWs here and there. CMC, the lone BMW entry right now in the field. As you see, Spank Meyer going a little wide, trying to push for that extra little bit of lap time. There's no bonus point for the pole in SRI, but you do need those poles for tiebreakers. If there's a tiebreaker, it goes wins, podiums, top 5s, top 10s, and poles. So you definitely want to get as I used to tell the drivers on my race team, put up the numbers. Wins, podiums, top 5s. It means if you're in 6th, I want you to try for 7th. If you're in 12th, I want you to try for 10th. That's basically the gist of it. And the guys here, these are championship drivers. They know it's a 10-week long season. There's a lot of time to try to put in what you can. And we'll talk a little here about that schedule for the Touring Car Masters. They are running the American leg right along with the sports cars here in the first part of the season. They'll be at, they were at Daytona last week. Will be at Circuit of the Americas next week. Week 4 will be at Indy in the Indianapolis 500 weekend. They'll be running on the Brickyard Road Course, and then it's out to Europe. Nürburgring, Oulton Park, Barcelona, and Algarve make up the next 4 weeks of the European leg, and then the final 2 rounds, the Pacific leg of the championship, they will be at the Dubai Autodrome in week 9, and we'll finish up the season down in Australia at Mount Panorama Bathurst. So this should be just an amazing championship. Take a look at, as I said, some of the results earlier today. The V8 Supercars were at the Imola circuit. We saw Spud Mad take the pole and the fastest lap. Couldn't hang on for the win after the early lead. Taijo gets the victory in the Imola Super Prix V8 race in Italy. He finishes first. Spudman was second. Dirt Rally, last week's pole sitter, rounds out the podium for that race. Last night, the SRI Sports Car Championship was here for the California Grand Prix. Saw Pogo Mojo take the pole and Taijo the fastest lap, but it was NZ Jack from down in New Zealand getting his first Sports Car Championship win. McToasty came home in second, and Pogo Mojo wound up rounding out the podium in third. the IndyCar series on Friday night right here on the short course, the Sonoma Indy 200. That was a fantastic duel. Tyjo was your pole sitter and fastest race lap, but it was the conservative drivers who did quite a bit better. McToasty, as we said, got his first IndyCar win. Mark Webber from down in Australia finished second, and it was yours truly, Carlin Hicks. I started ninth and was fortunate enough to drive some damaged suspension all the way up to a third place finish, my first podium in SRI, so I was pretty happy about that. And then also last night, the Grand National Championship was here for the Grand National Stock Cars, the Western 200, and that was all McToasty. Pole, fastest lap, and he took the win. It was Jiggly Jello second, and Pot the Brown who rounded out third. So McToasty, 2 wins and a second place finish this weekend here at the Sonoma Raceway. He is, the American driver, has had one heck of a season to this point, or one heck of a weekend, I should say, to this point at the Sonoma Raceway. So he's put himself, and it might be another pole here if he can put it together, so he's put together a fantastic weekend here at Sonoma as qualifying is winding down, and unless somebody's got something for him here, it looks like that 136.0 is going to hold the pole for McToasty. Alu back and forth, a little bit of a surprise for last week's race winner. But international flair as always. We've got 2 American drivers, 2 American drivers, 2 British drivers, a Canadian driver, Global Jackson, I believe he's Australian, I'm not sure. You'll have to check in with me, Global, and remind me. His flag on the board will not necessarily be accurate. Get the map up there so you guys can see it. Blue arrow, in case you're referencing, that's the car we're looking at. White cars are cars in the same lap. Red cars are cars a lap up. Blue cars would be a lap down. I don't expect with 6 cars to see much of that, but let's give you our starting lineup for the SRI Season 1 Touring Car Masters at Sonoma. Your pole sitter is McToasty from the U.S. with a 136.0. Spankmeyer will qualify second. Alu 82 will start in third, as he did steal a third spot there on the last lap. CDN Trooper will start fourth. Global Jackson in fifth, and another UK driver, I guess, Global Jackson in fifth, and CMC will be shotgun on the field in the lone BMW. So 3 Brits, 2 Americans, and a Canadian here in this week's Touring Car Master Challenge. This ought to be a fantastic showdown here at Sonoma Raceway. They're going to be starting off of the grid. It's a standing start in the Touring Car Masters, so we are expecting to see a shootout. 45 minutes at a minute, little less than a minute and a half. They'll probably run around 28, 29 laps, somewhere in that range, and they're going to have to keep the cars underneath them. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's these cars are close competition, and that's what as I tell these drivers often, being an American, and I'm sure some of the European viewers and drivers will agree with me and understand what I'm saying, but Touring Car Masters occupies the same niche in the motorsports culture, I think, in Europe and worldwide, that short track stock car racing does here in the States. It's, you know, lower powered, closer to a street car, banging and bumping, a little bit extra grinded in these cars, certainly from running a sports car or an Indy car, for example. And that's what makes this series exciting, and so we're excited to bring you this week's SRI Race of the Week broadcast from Sonoma. Next week we will be in Long Beach for the Grand Prix of Long Beach in the Indy cars. We got the Indy 500 coming up in a couple of weeks, Le Mans after that in the sports cars. So we're going to be with you here on the SRI Racing Network for the best in console-based championship racing. I'll look for a possible call here. McToasty's got great speed. Alu's already been a winner in the series. Spankmeyer and CDN are no slouches at all in these cars. And with a 6-car field, we should see a little spread. We'll get to talk a little bit about various drivers and whatnot here, and what's been a great weekend that we're wrapping up here at Sonoma. As we said, next weekend heading to Long Beach on the American side and Circuit of the Americas as well. All right, we are getting ready to go, and we are underway here at Sonoma. Off the grid, McToasty getting off to a good start. Spankmeyer right behind him. It looks like Alu not quite getting the move. CDN getting a jump up on him. So CDN jumps Alu into third in the Monster Energy car. Global Jackson settling into fifth, and CMC at the tail of that line. Got my color commentator bouncing around excited as Alu and CDN. Now if you're at Alu or CDN's point, you want to get right back up with those leaders as soon as you can as they come down through the carousel here on the Grand Prix circuit. Big dive down there, and off they go. Let's go ahead and get on our fastest drone pilot in the world, the chase cam of Alu 82, last week's winner at Daytona Speed Week. Big success here for SRI. Just a great weekend of racing. Capped it off with the Daytona 500, and here in the Touring Car Masters they had a heck of a race. As we said, Alu was your winner there. As they go through the S's here, you'll see the difference. Those of you that raced on the short course earlier the week or perhaps saw those races in the past, you'll see a little bit of difference here on the layout coming through the S's. But right now they're just trying to get the weight of that car balanced. You cannot push too hard. Looks like CDN's been flagged by the marshals already. But getting the power down coming out of that turn 19 hairpin at the end of the drag strip, that is absolutely crucial. CDN hanging on, Spankmeyer trying to stay in there. We're looking at that battle as Alu not far behind CDN as they battle for third. And as I've said in the past, excuse me, in the past broadcast, it's the point system here is built top heavy with built-in bonuses for wins, podiums, top fives. You definitely want to get in the top five with the points 20, 17, 15, 12, 10 through the top five, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 from sixth on back. With the provisional qualifying system, you need every point you can get, but the top fives are really the ones that pay out. Those are you need top fives to try to win championships, to try to, compete for the championship. And that's what these guys, with just a 6-car field, they're going to be looking to finish to get that. Long season ahead of them. They need every bit they can at this point. Global and CMC falling a little bit back, but these cars still getting in to the groove here. As you see CDN, he is right on the tail of Spankmeyer now. Oh, and it looks like CDN, a little bump, he goes off. I don't know if there was contact there or just lockup, but he's going to fall back to fourth there, and that's going to allow Alu to move in. Spankmeyer also has got his timings. We'll check the timings later. But Spankmeyer moving back up into second, Alu up into third, CDN in fourth, still in contact. Global Jackson a little bit back, and CMC in that BMW trying to keep things rolling on lap 3. In the Hawkeye number 26 car, it's still McToasty off the pole, but now he's got Spankmeyer right on his tail, and we got the front 4 with a blanket thrown over him. Really expect this championship, especially as more drivers come in over the course of the season, I expect it to come down to who makes mistakes. When you have a bad race, if you still manage in the top 5, then you're going to be in good shape. I think down the stretch it's going to come down to who blinks, but we are still in round 2 of 10 here in SRI Championship Season 1. It's a long way to go, but this is a race that everybody wants to get off on a good start. Try to get a ride along when we see some separation, which we may not see at all. There's Global Jackson. He's about 3 seconds off the back of the tail, but by no means out of this. We've seen Global put up some good runs. He hasn't really come up with the finishes yet, but we've seen good lap times. We've seen good racecraft in handling the car. He's one of those drivers, as he takes out one of our pylons, that I really just expect to see get better and better over the course of the season and his SRI career. Because I do believe you got a wheelman right there. Get back on board with CDN. Let's go ahead and get in the cockpit of that Renault Megane. This is right up through turn 1. You got to go right through turn 2. This is a very difficult spot. You don't want to push it. You got to get off the throttle because you want to be back on the throttle over the crest. And if you do it wrong right there, the timing, you can easily get some wheel spin. It's the same thing coming through this section here. Turn 4 and 5 section. As we see Alu go wide, then it's into the carousel. Hard right-hander. It's going to push you towards the left. Right now, CDN's going to be seeing a little bit of dirty air from Alu in front of him, but right here's big spot. You hit the crest, you got to get off the throttle briefly and then back on it to go through the carousel. You don't want to carry too much momentum going to the right, but that looks like about a perfect run there by CDN. And now it's down to the hairpin at the end of the drag strip. This is a passing zone. If you can make it work, you're going to see a lot of bumping and grinding through here, but you've got to stay hard on the right side of that wheel. As you can see, you don't get to go the extra wide bit like you would in the short track. And right there is where dirty air can start to affect you. Coming through the S's, you're getting a little trail of slipstream off the guy in front of you that can definitely throw you off as you work the S's. But right here, you're trying to build up speed so you can get down to the final hairpin, Gilligan's Island there to the right, as we in the States call it. It's hard on the brakes. You want to get back on the throttle as soon as you can. He takes that all the way out to the wall. And he's going to drive that thing right back up. And that is a lap at Sonoma on board with CDN Trooper. Meanwhile, up front, it's McToasty still less than a second on Spankmeyer. We're working lap 5, just a few minutes into this race. As I said, next week's schedule looking very, very solid. The Grand National stock cars will be at Texas Motor Speedway, the Indy cars at Long Beach, the sports cars and the Indy cars and the V8 supercars will be at Long Beach, and the sports car championship and these touring car masters will be at Circuit of the Americas. And it looks like we have a blown motor first one of the race, and that is sad to see. Global Jackson already out as his motor's gone, and we're down from 6 to 5. So everybody here who finishes is going to have a good points day, but that's not going to take away from the competition here up front as these guys try to grind it out for a points finish here in the touring car masters. Been having close to full race rooms for several of the American Tour Series, still building up here on the Euro Tour, but we'd love to have anybody come out and run the touring car masters. It is top-notch competition among these teams. Spankmeyer in second for the SRT Serious Racing team. He is a solid UK driver, very familiar with these cars, and a guy that I expect absolutely to be a championship contender. As he said last week, in these cars, Spankmeyer was 4th. So he wants to get up on that podium, grab some more points. And he is hanging right there, but he has got Alu 82 now all over him, last week's winner at Daytona. Really expect to see the European drivers shine when we get to the European leg of the championship, tracks that they're probably more familiar with. But McToasty, the American, trying to hold court on home turf here right off the pole. And McToasty's one of those drivers that driver after my own heart. You don't want to use the term conservative, but you're talking about a guy who thinks long term. He's an endurance racer. You know, he may not blow you away in a 5 or 10 lap public sprint, but you put him in a long form race and he becomes one of the top guys, as Alu is challenging Spankmeyer now But as I said, McToasty, along with myself, both we came up through the field, outlasted everybody in the Indy cars. That's how McToasty picked up that win in the Sonoma Indy 200. And that's what I expect to see out of him. He's just a steady driver, doesn't make mistakes, drives a smooth car, so he's tough to beat. Even if he's not winning, he's not far back, and so it's hard to gain points on him if you give him an early lead in the championship, and that's why these guys are roughing. And you can see Alju all over Spankmeyer looking for a spot to make the move here as we work lap 7, a little over 10 minutes into the 45-minute feature. And as these guys start seeing some tire wear, looks like the little ones here in the background, my color commentators, are going nuts. They're enjoying the action as always. And with that, CDN's right back into it as these three get bottled up. Now, can McToasty use the fact that these three are fighting so hard to try to break away? They're all running right there in the 137. CMC's having a little problem. He's back in the 140s in the BMW, but we're glad to see him in the race. We'll put some focus on him here shortly. And he's by no means done for position. Anybody here bangs their car up, has some problems, and he can definitely move up. It's by no means out that he is not in contention for a podium. Alju in the Air Bubbles car trying to set up Spankmeyer. These guys veterans with each other in our former organization running these cars, and these guys have turned laps together in the touring cars. The SRI Touring Car Masters might be a new series in a new league, but these guys, not their first time in these things. As you can see, Alju just looking for a spot. It's just so hard right there. You got to get inside before the hairpin, because if you don't, coming out of it, you need that extra width to wash out to get that speed, and that's where Spankmeyer kept him just behind him there. And I don't think you'll see Alju or any of these guys getting desperate unless they see McToasty start putting a gap on him. If he starts gapping them, then things will be different. I think you'll see guys start pushing a little bit more there at that point. Ooh, and somebody went off, and that was McToasty. McToasty having a little bit of problem there coming up into the carousel, and he slides all the way back from first to fourth. So like I said, we were waiting to see who was going to blink, and it was McToasty, your pole sitter, who blinks. Didn't lose much, but with everybody on top of each other, it's worth 3 positions. He falls back to 4th place as he has a little trouble getting into the carousel. You can see that tire smoke coming up as these guys are starting to fire up those tires, but with McToasty's problem, that's going to put Spankmeyer into the lead, Alju into 2nd, CDN into 3rd, McToasty's back into 4th, and CMC a bit off the pace back in 5th, although he's picking it up, the only BMW in the field. And you see CDN Trooper, Canadian driver, terrific sports car racer. We've also seen him in Indy cars and stock cars on occasion, but primarily running on the European Tour is where we've seen CDN Trooper running, and he is just an excellent touring car driver. Right now just trying to hang with that front group. Still 45-minute race is it's not a sprint, but it's a bit of a sprint compared to some of the 200 and 300K SRI races, and so 15 minutes in here, 9-10 laps, we're going to get right around the 29-30 laps that we had predicted. CMC hitting the pits, and I believe he's retiring the car as he is struggling with that BMW. Don't want to miss any action, but let me real quick see if I can get him into our broadcast booth. Maybe I can add our retired driver to the broadcast booth. We'll see if he pops in, but that leaves the initial 4 once again at it, and they have a blanket over them. Basically, if you had our normal 14-15 car field, it would be these 4 up front anyway, and we'd be flashing back to the 10 guys chasing them. So we're getting top-notch action here early on. Let's take a look at the timing penalties and see if any of that is going to come into play here. Yeah, we've got everybody except for McToasty has a 2-second penalty, so that at the moment means McToasty would be in the lead. after the Marshall penalty. So these guys, with penalties on the board, they either need McToastie to pick one up himself, or they need to put a little gap on him, or he doesn't even need to pass him. So we'll see how that works out. But they are by no means separated. "15 minutes down, 30 to go, working lap 10." So yeah, we're looking right about 30 or so. 30 laps here at 2.5 miles would cover about 75 miles for the total race. 2.5 would be about 4K, so you can say about 120K. 125K would be the race distance if we're doing kilometers. Spankmeyer getting a little bit of a gap right now. He's, matter of fact, opened it up. As he moves about 1.3 seconds ahead of CDN. Alu's back into third. McToastie falling back into fourth place. Haven't seen any desperation yet from anybody. But as good a time as any, get some more onboard shots here from McToastie inside that Renault Megane. Renault, the dominant manufacturer here in the Touring Car Masters. We have seen BMWs run well at times, but the general consensus is the Renault, however you want to say it, is the car to have. But things are going to get more interesting as these tires wear. That is definitely for sure. These guys are not going to want to pit over a race distance here in the touring cars. You're trying to make it the full race distance on the set of tires that you have. If you pit, it's for damage or a problem. Right here is where McToastie had his trouble that cost him the lead. It's very tough getting off on, pushing off on that turn. Cannot go over the sand. And then this is the one I find challenging. You see everybody getting a little off the throttle and tapping the brake here. If there wasn't that big bump in the crest of that ridge, you could probably go flat out. But because of that bump, you have to time it so that you get your traction down coming down the hill. Toasty smooth as butter right there, as these guys all smooth, just running pretty much identical lap times. It's gonna, as we saw, and McToastie went from first to fourth because he blinked. He didn't lose much, just a second or two, but it was enough with everybody on him as he's trying to set it up through the S's here. You know, watch him come down. To the hairpin, the final hairpin. Let's get back trackside as CDN and Alu continue to battle for second. They have closed in even more now on Spankmeyer. Looks like anybody gets out front and gets a couple seconds, they can't quite hang on to it. And I'm sure there are dirty air and aerodynamic problems running nose to tail, but I think different with an Indy car or a sports car. Not as powerful, not quite as much downforce brake in the air. So the dirty air not quite as bad. In those cars, you'll often in a race like this see the leader pull away a little bit while the little group from two on back fights with the air until you get some tire wear that can help guys separate. But here in the touring cars, I don't know that there's enough of it. You have to ask the drivers who are familiar with it if that's the deal, but the leader just has not been able to pull out here early on in this race to get themselves any kind of lead. And now Spankmeyer continuing after moving up from, I believe, the second starting spot. He's now up holding into the lead, but they are all right on top of him. Everybody, it's one of those situations, I've been in this battle before. I'm reminded of several IndyCar races. Willow Springs comes to mind in the past, where if you're in second, you feel like you're quick enough, you could make a move on the guy in front of you. The problem is, if you make the wrong move and it doesn't stick, not only are you not going to get that next position, but you're going to lose the position to the guy behind you who's defending. And that's the issue when you have so many of the top of the drivers this close. You know, you have to be a little more conservative, because if you gamble, you could easily lose more than that. And these guys also got to be thinking, as I said, McToasty, the only one without a marshal's flag of 2 seconds on his thing, he would actually be in the lead at this point. So these guys need to get separated from him, or see if he can pick up a penalty. Otherwise, we'll see everything shuffle out towards the end. CDN still trying to make that move. Alu still in third. I just don't think we're going to see much separation here between these guys. They are going to race nose to tail all the way through. We're now more than 20 minutes in, working lap 13, and you're probably feeling the tires a little bit. Not seeing as much tire smoke, because I think guys aren't diving in there as hard as they were early on, but certainly the tires are no longer holding up the way that they were. Our next SRI Racing Network broadcast will be next weekend, Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. UK time, and translate that to Australia for me, guys. I believe that's noon Saturday in Australia. We will be at the world famous Long Beach Street Circuit for the biggest street race in North America, the Grand Prix of Long Beach. It'll be the third round of the SRI Season 1 IndyCar Series, and really looking forward to working the booth for that one. Back-to-back weeks, we will be running the crown jewel events of the IndyCar Series, the Grand Prix of Long Beach and the Indianapolis 500. So that will be a critical section of the season. Obviously, we will be in the booth for both of those races, but we'll definitely see you next week at Long Beach. As you can see, Spankmeyer starting to slide a little bit from that lead. Let's take a look at Alu and give a look at the chase cam, world's fastest drone pilot, as I like to say. Alu, last week's winner at Daytona, he is looking to move up here, and I think this is a guy, this is another patient driver, quick in these cars, another cerebral driver, and right there hits the bump a little bit, but he's got a car that's turning. That thing is definitely still getting through the corners well, and I think he's waiting for his opportunity to try to push forward. These guys all right around a minute 38 in lap times right now, right around those 98-second laps, and right there, tough spot coming out of there. You don't want to lose momentum, but you've got to stay out of that sand. And that spot to your left right there, right in the entrance of pit lane, I've had my problems there in the past, even last night in the Grand National race here, the Western 200. Yours truly fortunate enough only to bring home a 7th place finish, but once I had some problems with the front end, brakes didn't go, and I made contact with that barrier on the left, damaged the car pretty bad, lost a couple laps making repairs. And it was a low speed crash, mind you. I was just trying to get around at that point, so you got to be real careful through that section, because if you're not, that will bite you. See if any of our timings have changed. No, it's still 2 seconds across the board, which puts McToasty in a real good spot. But the SRT car of Spankmeyer leading the way at this moment, as we are past the halfway point now. Cross flags have gone out. We are past the halfway point here in the Touring Car Masters at Sonoma. Here comes CDN. He's challenging on the outside going into the hairpin. It's tough to make that move work because of that right there, as you see. It's a little dirty on the outside of the hairpin, not to mention with the corner closing up. It's very difficult to make that move there. He gave it a shot, but that's what I was talking about. Very nearly lost the spot to Alu trying to make that move, so it's very tough, and these guys, they know the story here. As we hit 20 minutes to go, and they're exactly as they started. 4 top-notch drivers, nose to tail. And Toasty, your pole sitter, still back there in 4th, but knowing that if he stays off the penalty board, he might just win this race. Working lap 16, looking to see where the tire. We saw tire smoke early as guys were going in hard to the corners. I haven't seen brake smoke or tire smoke in a while. I think they're settling in. They got temperature in the tires, and we'll see if that wear comes to affect them. Working lap 17, 18 and a half minutes to go. We're anticipating somewhere around 28, 29 laps, somewhere in that range, maybe as much as 30. So we're a little past halfway. And these guys are working this 2.5 mile Grand Prix circuit here at Sonoma. We'll take a look at Alu on his cockpit cam. This is where he's been good, right there. You can see him get that apex just about perfectly. He's been very good in that section through the west chute. And you can see him gaining right there. Spankmeyer goes wide. Here comes Alu. And he, see right there, nowhere to go, but he is definitely quick through that section. Took that west hairpin very good. Now as, or excuse me, took the east hairpin very good. Now as he goes to the west hairpin, he's staying right there with him, but the clock is ticking, and excuse me, you want to build that, get out there and make that move and build that gap. You know McToasty doesn't have that penalty on the board, and these guys do, so they need a little bit of gap, or McToasty might just steal this thing from the back of the line. As I said, front 3 drivers all have a 2-second Marshall's penalty. McToasty, your pole sitter, who made the mistake and fell back to 4th, does not. We saw some brake lock right there from Alu. As these two are working, it looks smooth, but I can guarantee you they are working those wheels on this bumpy track. Also, Sonoma's a place you got to watch out for. With only 6 starters in the field, we've had 2 retirees already. There's not as much of it as there would be with a fuller field, but you will see dirt come up onto the track here. The track gets dirtier, the track gets grittier. It becomes tougher as the race goes on. Not just because your tires are wearing, but because the track, guys sliding off there, it'll get a little dirtier through this section. Anybody who brings off some sand will bring it back onto the track, and while I don't see any right now and the track appears to be okay, the fewer cars probably helping with that. I would not be surprised in the least if we actually saw that at some point. Saw a little sand, guys battling. Alu's right on CDN. He just cannot make that move. through the hairpin. These guys are so close in speed that nobody's getting a big advantage in any one place. You can see the lap times are right on top of each other. All the way throughout, as we are about to hit the 15-minute mark, 2/3 of the way through. And I think, yeah, we're looking at 28, 29 laps. So it's getting down to where if you're going to make a move, you're going to have to do it soon. Car's starting to get to be something to fight underneath you. But as always, excellent action here at SRI. You're wondering, did any one of these guys come up with a little more aggressive setup that's going to cost them towards the end of the race? That's the other question I have at this point. Do you have one that with 25, 28 laps of tires on it is not going to be quite up to snuff? And that's what we're looking for. But these front four are putting on a show. Ooh, and Spankmeyer goes wide, and that's going to shoot CDN into the lead. Can he hang on? He's going to fall back to third, so he goes wide coming down the backstretch. Oh, door handle to door handle, Spankmeyer and CDN. And CDN shoots to the lead, so a small mistake by Spankmeyer right there. Just hits the sand coming out. But right there, he comes right back inside. And these two are still going at it. CDN shoots to the lead. There goes Spankmeyer again, coming up through the S's. And he might lose second place to Alu, and I believe he does. Yeah, he's starting. We said somebody's going to have a little bit as those tires start to go. And then Alu falls back. So both of them struggling up through the S's. Got that mic back up and running there. Looks like, as we said, both CDN and both Alu and Spankmeyer having problems through those S's, and all of a sudden CDN has shot out to the lead. CDN Trooper in the Monster Energy Renault has shot out to that slight lead. Spankmeyer falling into second, Alu to third, and McToasty back and forth. Can CDN make something happen from the front? Can he gap enough to where the race possibly becomes his? Qualified fourth, so he has moved up through the field steadily. You can see a little slide in that car as well. There's some wheel lock right there. You saw that right rear lock up on CDN, so he must be wearing out that rear tire a little bit. But at the moment, he is out front, has got one of the bigger gaps we've seen all day, which is 1.7 seconds. It's not exactly a lot, but he didn't have problems on that last lap like the rest of the field. Working lap 21. Can he keep that Monster Energy car out front and pick up the victory? This is the first drive in the Touring Car Masters for CDN. He did not make the race last week at Daytona. So to come in and pick up a win right off the bat would put him right back into the championship heading into round 3 at Circuit of the Americas next week. Seeing one of the bigger separations we've seen, McToasty's falling back 4.5 seconds. I don't know if he's got some damage or what's going on with him. Let's see what we can pick up, as he's now fallen 5 seconds behind as McToasty. We said just a great weekend for him. He was the winner of the IndyCar race, the Sonoma Indy 200. He was the winner of the Grand National race, the Western 200. finished second in the sports cars, I believe. But it's been a fantastic weekend for McToasty here at Sonoma. 2 wins, 3 podiums so far, and he's going to have to fight, however. He's now up to 6 seconds back. Alyu has also fallen back as he had problems there. 142 on that last lap. He's fallen back a couple seconds back to third. So, as I said, get later in the race, we might finally see a little bit of separation. And Alyu, last week's winner, has fallen back to third. Spankmeyer up to second. And they are losing time to CDN, who suddenly, once he's gotten in front of everybody, he's got the fastest car at the moment. Take a look at the timings for the fastest lap of the race, and yes, that 1:36.9 that he put up out front last lap was the fastest lap of the race. So CDN, maybe he's got the fastest car, maybe he was just waiting for track position, but now that he's up in the lead, he's actually pulling away from the field behind him. After they kept him bottled up, he couldn't go anywhere, but now he is on the move since he shot up to the lead in that Monster Energy car. And we're inside 10 minutes working lap 22, and he is sitting in the catbird seat. Still a little lockup there on that right rear, so you might want to worry about that tire a little bit if you were him, but if he can keep it under him, he is in the right position at this moment. Meanwhile, championship points on the line as Spankmeyer and Alyu continue to battle for second. McToasty got it back up into the 137s that time. Another fastest race lap for CDN on that last one, 1:36.7. And he is starting to put some distance on the field. It looks like all he needed was to get some track position and get out front, and he would be able to pull away, because that's what he's doing right now. We'll keep an eye on the lap times and see if that maintains, but at the moment CDN is in control of this race all of a sudden. Waited, you got to give him credit, waited patiently, started fourth, he moved up to third early when McToasty had his problem, stayed right where he was, hung on, and has just gradually moved up, and now has gradually moved up into an expanding lead over 4 seconds. We had all 4 of these front runners within 2 seconds of each other for most of the race. And now, as you can see in the background there, he's got a little bit of a gap on these guys as we head down towards the finish. As I said, next week the SRI Touring Season 1 Touring Car Masters will be at Circuit of the Americas. They're paired up with the Sports Car Championship next week. They will be at Circuit of the Americas running the national circuit, and it looks like Alyu made the move. Maybe Spankmeyer went wide again. It looks like the way he was re-entering the track right there that indeed was the case. Maybe fighting that car a little bit. He's still going though. He's right back on it and coming after Alyu. Good time to take a look at the chase from inside the car again. Love getting these cockpit views. This is how I race the car. As Alyu and Spankmeyer battling, it looks like McToasty may have got the penalty that evened him out. It's only 1 second. Alyu's now got 4, however, so that might put Spankmeyer into a position where he can get the jump into second without passing. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out at the end, and it looks like Alyu might have went around. Let me get on my camera real quick. He did. He had some problems there in the S's, or I'm sorry, yeah, coming up towards the carousel, and Alyu, last week's winner, has now fallen back to fourth. So as I called it, as this race went on and these tires start to wear, we might be seeing a different race, and indeed we have. CDN is still running in the 136s, and he is pulling away from the field now, and the battle is for the podium spots. Spankmeyer second, McToasty third, Alyu 82 now back all the way into fourth. Here comes McToasty looking to make a move, and he might have it. Indeed does, through the S's. No, not yet. Can't get the switchback on the inside line there, but a good effort. That's a tough place to make a pass, but he made a move at it and almost got it done. But by not making it, that gives Alyu 82 a shot at him. As I said earlier, That's the kind of thing you got to watch out for in a race like this. It's not just that the move doesn't work and now you're not going to get that guy. It's the guy behind you can make a move, and indeed McToasty loses the spot to ALU82, trying to get the wheels back under him. CDN fell back a 140.7. Maybe he had a couple problems there. Lost a little bit of time, but still in control at this moment as we are heading down towards 5 minutes remaining, getting down towards the nitty-gritty here at the Touring Car Masters at Sonoma. 2, 3, and 4 still with a blanket on him, but CDN setting the pace out front. He had a slower lap that last time. These guys finally starting to see those lap times drop off, as I think they're fighting the car. And right there you see Spankmeyer, excuse me, you see Spankmeyer, McToasty, and ALU going wide. ALU back to 4th again. And these three are still at it while CDN continues to work. You can see on the map in the corner what the gap is there here at the Sonoma Raceway. And now it's starting to drop. Is CDN having some kind of problem? I see a little damage to that front left wheel. It looks like maybe he made contact with something. Let's see what his lap time is this time, by 140.4, so a couple seconds off what it was a few laps ago. I think I see damage on the left front of his car. Take a look at that right there. There is a separation, so he's made contact with something. Now that might be just some slight aero damage, maybe just cosmetic, but see on the left turn if he's pushing wide, I don't see it. Looks like he still has the car underneath him at the moment, but his gap of over 7 seconds has fallen and continues to fall. He might be struggling with the handling and might be just trying to hang on here. Get back on our chase cam with ALU as 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the screen in front of you. And they look like they're slowly moving up on CDN. They are definitely slowly moving up on CDN. He might be having some kind of problem here, excuse me, towards the end of the race. See him out there in the distance up ahead, but it's now just 4.5 seconds as opposed to over 7 seconds. We are inside of 3 minutes, so he may have enough time that it's not going to matter, but Sonoma Raceway is like a serpent. It can bite you at any time. You still see that brake lock coming from CDN. That right rear tire is taking a beating. Same there for Spankmeyer. These guys are fighting these cars hard. Excuse me, as we run towards the finish. You can hear them lifting those throttles as they hit the bumps. It's getting more difficult to get the power down, obviously. But these three are not going anywhere. The timing penalties may decide the positions here, actually. And we'll wait for that, though, at the end of the race. They are gaining, though, on CDN now, but I don't know if there's enough time. They're inside of 4 seconds. Maybe CDN's just cruising with that little bit of damage he has. But either way, they are moving up on him rapidly. It cut that lead about in half over the last 3 or 4 laps. But he got it back down into the 138s that time, so CDN's back up on pace. As McToasty, as you can see in the blue car, they're trying to make the move on Spankmeyer for 2nd. But it's really just accomplished at this point with putting all of them together. Inside of a minute, so I believe we're going to have 1 lap to go. Yeah, as CDN hits the line, we are on the white flag lap. White flag is out, 1 lap to go here at Sonoma Raceway in the Touring Car Masters to close out what has been a fantastic weekend. As these guys continue to battle, CDN still holding out up in the lead. McToasty trying to make a move there on Alu in the air bubbles car. These guys have kept the cars together. We don't have any serious damage that I see. The worst damage being that little panel on CDN Trooper's car back through the carousel for the last time, and Alu going all the way up onto the yellow. Just does keep it on the racetrack. As McToasty looks to make a move to get in. He might get that third spot anyway because of the marshal penalties, but he is trying to do it on the track as he slides a little. These guys are definitely fighting those cars. Spankmeyer, meanwhile, getting a little bit of a distance on them, and we'll see if there's any difference there. But up front, it's CDN. Started in fourth, stuck in the group. It looks like, honestly, all he needed was to get out front. Once he got out front in clean air, he's been the car that's been able to pull away, and here he goes down through the hairpin for the last time. It'll be the Canadian driver, CDN Trooper, and he's going to bring it home. Your SRI Season 1 Touring Car Masters at Sonoma champion. A great job by CDN, brings it home. Spankmeyers is going to drive it in second. Alu crosses in third, but we're going to have to wait and see what the marshal penalties sort out, and they do sort out. So CDN Trooper is your winner of the SRI Season 1 Touring Car Masters at Sonoma. A masterful drive coming from fourth on the grid, post the race's fastest lap as well. Spankmeyer comes in and improves on last week's fourth place, gets back on the podium, finishes second, getting some good points there for him. It's going to be McToasty, big weekend, another podium, 4 podiums on the weekend for McToasty, as he brings it home in third place from the pole. Going to be maybe a little disappointed, but nonetheless a solid run. And Alu 82 closes it out in fourth place. CMC and Global Jackson were your retirees. So another fantastic show here in the SRI at Sonoma Raceway. CDN Trooper your winner. Spankmeyer comes home in second, and McToasty rounds out your podium. Next week, as I said, we will have the various series. We'll be heading towards Long Beach, Circuit of the Americas also, and it will be just another fantastic weekend of racing. So Carlin Hicks here from SRI Racing Network. We've been glad to have you. Congratulations again to CDN Trooper, your Touring Car Masters at Sonoma champion. We will see you next week at Long Beach, and bye for now.